Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, we got a good one today for sure. And we are revisiting the good old transfer portal one more time. Yeah, the last transfer portal video I made, I was really expecting it to be my last. However, there's been a ton of movement since the May 1st deadline, so I figured I would make at least one more video until it really starts picking up again in early fall. Now, I decided to revisit this not only because it is the hottest part of college wrestling right now, but because we can collect some actual hardcore data, and that data is the wrestlers themselves, the school they are transferring to, and exactly how talented those exact wrestlers are. Last week I decided to track every major wrestler that is transferring or is in the portal, and I graded them. Now, I don't really like doing this because I think all Division I college wrestlers are very good on their own right, so I made a super unbiased grading scale that you could see on the screen right now. Then I started grading teams based on the number of wrestlers they have in the portal, the significant graded wrestlers they lost, and of course the quality of wrestlers they are bringing in. Now, I will send a disclaimer out and say if a school only lost one or two guys that are below D tier in my opinion, you probably won't hear about them, or if they lost one potential starter or national qualifier but they have a really great backup, they probably don't have much case to be in this video. For example, Oklahoma State did lose Montalvo, a top tier guy, but besides that, they are pretty fine with their lineup with Montalvo and two other lower level productive guys leaving. However, a team that might not have lost any top tier guys but has three or more guys trying to leave, that is a different story, and obviously I'll be rating them in this video because that's not such a good look on the culture if a ton of guys are trying to leave. On the other hand, teams that lost maybe no one but brought in a really elite talent could potentially be ranked too, but that's not always the case either. Now, the last thing I really need to mention obviously is the tier list. I was going to do an average system, but since we are also grading them on the quantity and quality, I decided to just make 4 tier lists labeled bad, alright, good, and great, or DCBA. Yeah, I know, real original, but simple and effective. Now, I thank you all for sitting through that school lecture on my grading system of the transfer portal, but that's enough explaining for me for now. Let's jump in, and if you have any more questions, be sure to send me a comment in the comment section below, along with hitting that like button or subscribing if you enjoyed this video and the channel content. I very much appreciate everything you guys do for me. Now, let's do this thing and rank some teams that are super active, extremely active, or sort of active in the NCAA off-season transfer portal. We will go from worst to best, and to be honest, I think my interpretation of the data will kind of shock a few people, simply because most people think the transfer portal will really benefit the bigger schools and harm the smaller schools, but that is sort of true, sort of not true. So let me explain myself in the bottom tier, or bad, or D performing teams of the transfer portal. The D tier is the biggest set of teams, and starting us off, we have two huge schools in Ohio State and Penn State, which might be shocking, but like I will do throughout this entire video, and I do throughout all my videos, is explain the reasoning behind this. So allow me to explain for all those Penn State and Ohio State fans who are still here and didn't click off this video yet. A key thing to note in this tier of the transfer portal rankings is that a lot of these teams might not have gained a lot, but they are losing a ton, which does not look good for any team. A perfect example of this is Ohio State, who is gaining no new transfers, but has 5 guys in the transfer portal, and some have already left. The best guys they have lost I've ranked in the B to B- tier, and those wrestlers would be like Rocky Jordan, who was really tough in a national qualifier, and a pretty tough young freshman who had a great redshirt season in Liardi. The rest of the guys leaving, in my opinion, were C to D tier, and that doesn't mean they can't upgrade as they move to their new universities, but losing that many guys is never good for a program. Now, I'll say this video is only ranking teams on the transfer portal, so some of these teams that might get graded a little lower still have great recruiting classes coming in or great backups. For example, Ohio State is gaining one of the best recruiting classes ever, so that really helps and probably results in all these transfers. I'm sure all the Ohio State fans already clicked off this video, so they probably didn't hear that compliment, but that's regardless. Let's move on to Penn State now so all those fans can click off. The reason for Penn State being in this tier is they're only really gaining Betancourt from Ohio State, who was a fill-in guy, so he's around that C tier level, but they are losing 2 stud fill-ins like Meredith and Negron, and of course they lost a big A tier guy in All-American Michael Beard, so that really hurts the Nittany Lions in the the transfer portal ranking. The next school in the D tier is Stanford, who lost a 6th place All-American in Real Woods, and their 125 national qualifier Ashton, who is currently in the transfer portal right now. Wyoming is also being hit pretty hard with several-time national qualifier Samuelson and semi-productive 125 Seville entering the portal looking for a new home. And both Stanford and Wyoming have gained nothing in return in the transfer portal. Utah Valley and American are losing 2 productive transfers. Utah Valley is losing a big homegrown boy in Lamont, a former All-American and several-time national qualifier, along with Reno, a 141 backup. American is not losing a wrestler like Lamont, but dropped 2 stars in Fitzpatrick, a pretty solid national qualifier in 2021, and fell in their 133 heading to Sacred Heart. The final couple teams have a couple different cases for being in this bottom tier, and the first one to mention is North Carolina, who is dropping 3 potential productive options. The big one is clearly Kennedy Monday, who might be done with academic potential at UNC, so maybe that's not their fault, but it's still a multiple-time national qualifier they are losing. They're also losing round of 16 guy in Heilman, who went on to Rutgers at 133, and then Julian Tagg, who hasn't wrestled in a good bit, so who really knows how productive he'll really be at a new home, but the name alone and the potential is making me include him on this list. In all reality, UNC only really had Heilman to lose, so they're kind of on the fence here, and they could leave the discussion if Tagg and Monday never really end up wrestling somewhere. The second to last team in this tier is Presbyterian, which is a new team, but they have at the time of this video 4 guys in the portal, which is kind of high, and their semi-productive starter Gomez at 125 is one of their guys leaving, so that could really hurt their team, which is on the build right now. I love new programs in Division 1, so I wish them the best as they keep growing. They could also have so many guys in the transfer portal because they are a new school. That does happen all the time with growing programs, so we'll never really know. The final team to mention is Lock Haven, losing around 5 guys, which is extremely high, but they only lost backups or 3rd string projected guys and gained Bassett from George Mason, who I would rank as a B- guy since he was right there to qualify for NCAAs in the MAC this season. Still, they are dropping like flies to the transfer portal, and a B- might not be enough to justify that, so very similar to Penn State in this tier. Alright, moving into the alright/C tier. To sort of explain this, these might be teams that lost a few guys or 1 person, but gained a B to B+ level guy, or maybe 2 C level guys. And to keep explaining that, I will just get right into the teams. 2 teams that were super active in the portal and are looking to have great years are West Virginia, grabbing Hilgis from Virginia Tech and Karam from Lehigh. The other team to mention is Northern Colorado, that got high recruit Steve Poland from NC State, along with the Cornell great fill guy, Barisa. Now, Northern Colorado might not have got a national qualifier level guy, so they will stay in the C tier, and West Virginia's case for being here, they are losing 2 starters, but they are filling those spots with upgrades, but nonetheless, they still lost some guys, but at least they were actively getting guys in the portal. The final 2 teams in this list got some pretty good upgrades for their schools, and that is Hofstra and Gardner-Webb. Hofstra is losing a former starter in Ryder at 125, and then a lower level backup in Keimerman at 133, but that's not really so bad when they were getting Liardi from Ohio State, who had a great redshirt season like I mentioned, so a pretty nice trade-off. Then Gardner-Webb got a round of 12 guy in Price from South Dakota State, and only lost their 197 starter, but he never qualified for nationals, so pretty good trade. And then adding a late addition to the C tier is South Dakota State, just mentioning Price. Right before I record this, Meredith did commit to South Dakota State from Penn State in the transfer portal, so I think they fit right in this C tier. They lost a round of 12 guy from a few years ago in Price, upgrade with Meredith, and they kind of got Gabe Tagg in this segment considering they got him halfway through the year. So I'm just going to put South Dakota State in the C tier. I don't think they're bad, but I also don't think they're B tier, so we're sticking them at C tier. Moving up to the B tier, or as we call it, the good tier, we have 4 pretty solid transfer portal resumes, starting with Arizona State, who clearly gained high Oklahoma State starter Montalvo. The only reason they are not higher is because they are losing 3 lower productive guys, so that keeps them in this B tier. Plus, they didn't grab anyone else, they just got 1 guy, so B's pretty fitting. Another big one that hasn't been mentioned yet is obviously Iowa, who gained Real Woods and All-American, but then lost a very good redshirt in Henson to Oklahoma. So that is a pretty solid trade-off in my opinion, so definitely B tier. Wrapping up the B tier, there is ACC school Pitt, who lost Luke Kemmer to Edinburgh, but besides that, they picked up a round of 12 SoCon guy in Casto, who's a stud from the Citadel, and he should fit in that lineup pretty perfectly, and he's also from PA, so hopefully he feels like he's at home. Then speaking of the SoCon, the Tennessee school in Chattanooga has a pretty even trade-off that keeps them here in B tier. They selected a stud from Ohio State in Rocky Jordan, but lost their several-time national qualifier in Nicholson, who was a staple to their program. But just looking at past result, this is a pretty good trade, but for sure shows that they are B tier with the trade-off, along with not losing many other guys in the portal. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we are in the best of the best tier, in the A tier, or as we like to call it here at TrueTan Wrestling, the great tier. Let's start with probably the most active school in the portal with the Sooners of Oklahoma. Obviously, they lost a former All-American in Dom Demas, which clearly hurt. He placed 4th at Nationals a few years ago, but then was a round of 12 guy before not starting this season, but still a big blow to them. They're losing 2 other guys, but nothing that big. And the main reason they are not B tier and they are in this A tier, well, they booked 3 B tier level wrestlers in my opinion. To fill the Demas hole, they have Mocha Schwartz or Henson coming in, who can make some huge stock shifts in their careers. And then they also added a great upperweight in Ninehouse from Purdue, who had an iffy year this year, but was a national qualifier and beat a lot of national qualifier level wrestlers. I would argue just the activity and replacement push for Oklahoma more than justifies them this offseason to be in this transfer portal tier. These last 3 teams are pretty straightforward, not losing anyone but gaining an A or better wrestler, even if it is just one. So starting the 3 teams, we have Rutgers, who gained a round of 16 finisher last season, who will be a really nice fit for the Scarlet Knights. There's also Lehigh, who gained an All-American in Beard at 197 from Penn State, and Lehigh didn't drop anyone to the transfer portal yet this season at least, so very good get and very good culture at Lehigh so far. The next team seems to always do well around this time, scooping up transfer portal athletes, and I think that is just due to coaching, location, and the great wrestling ecosystem now built in Madison, Wisconsin. The Badgers just a few days ago grabbed Lamont from Utah Valley and added themselves not only to this list, but my script. Yeah, I just typed this in. This is a nice get and will for sure make their lineup interesting, and don't worry, thanks to the comment section below, I'm going to make a way too early roster look at the Wisconsin Badgers in the future, so don't worry about that. But for now, just enjoy Wisconsin being in the A tier, gaining Lamont, and only losing 1 backup at 157. Then to add the last team for just good measure, we have Cal Poly, who would have got some great grades last year, but they continue to get A ratings in the transfer portal, gathering Dom Demas and really growing their impressive lineup out west, along with losing no one in the portal. Well, everyone, that was my grading system of the NCAA landscape within the spring transfer portal period. If there was a team I missed or that you want me to grade, please feel free to send me a comment in the comment section below. Along with realizing that these grades could definitely change. I'm sure the second I release this video, there'll be a big announcement made. I mean, as I was recording this, Lamont and Meredith both decided where they were transferring, so the grades can change for sure. But if you do leave a comment while you are down there, consider supporting me on Patreon for early and extra content, along with checking out the TrueTan Wrestling merchandise. But at the end of the day, this was awesome, taking a long look at the transfer portal again and doing my own little speculations and grading of every athlete in there. If you enjoyed this video as much as I liked making it, be sure to hit that like button, and you might as well subscribe to the channel if you're not already. Now, I hope to see you all in the next one, and have a great day, everyone. Take care.